Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patience Kagoza, and today my Ama-zing Consultants and I are going to be taking you through our remuneration policy and strategy. Today, you are going to be hearing from five speakers, including myself, and we'll be presenting on our remuneration policy strategy. Our speakers are going to be Mr. Mohammed Almi, Ms. Liabona Ginya, Mr. Avumile Halahoi, Ms. Leona Nyamunga, and myself, Patience Kagoza. So the first speaker is going to be Mr. Halahoi, and he's going to be presenting on our remuneration literature review. Our second speaker will be Ms. Nyamunga. She will be presenting on the expectancy theory. And our third speaker will be Mr. Almi, who is going to be presenting on the equity theory and giving a analysis and critique as well. The fourth speaker would be myself, Patience Kagoza, and I'll be taking you through our hypothesized remuneration policy and strategy. And Ms. Liabona Ginya will continue on that desired remuneration policy and strategy. Today, we have four agendas in total, and we'll be taking you through each agenda. The first agenda will be our introduction. The second agenda will move right into the literature review. The fourth agenda is going to be based on our theories or the different theories. We are going to be presenting on two theories, the expectancy theory as well as the equity theory. And last but not least, we are going to be taking you through our hypothesized remuneration policy and strategy. So without further ado, I'll be handing over to Ms. Ginya, who will be introducing our topic and explaining what it is about. Thank you, Ms. Ginya.
Thank you very much, Patience. Remuneration policy and strategy is a very important aspect within an organization. Today, we're going to speak about it and we'll be giving you in-depth insight on the remuneration policy and strategy as well as a salary structure. Today, we're going to be presenting on the literature review of theory that has been collected, information collected from different authors based on the remuneration policy, the remuneration or salary structure, as well as the three different types of remuneration theories. Within our presentation, we know that there are three different theories: the expectancy theory, the agency theory, as well as the equity theory. However, today we're just mainly going to focus on two, which is the expectancy theory as well as the equity theory. It is very important that organizations become transparent with the employees, and this will create and ensure the implementation of a remuneration policy, and it also aims to inspire and motivate and retain our employees. According to Jack Welch and other authors, remuneration plays a very critical role in an organization. When an employee is compensated fairly and they are satisfied, they have become more productive. More productive employees means that the organization is succeeding, therefore creating more profits. Therefore, with remuneration in place or remuneration policy and strategy in place, both the employee and the employer benefit from it. Without any waste of time, I'm going to allow the first speaker to take us through the literature review. Over to you, Mr. Alahoyi.
Thank you, Ms. Kenya. Good day, class. And I'll be focusing on the remuneration policy and the salary structure literature review of this presentation. This literature review is compiled through previous collection of information based on the headings provided on top, of which it's the remuneration policy and the salary structure. The in-depth theory of both the policy and the salary structure will be outlined in the study, and we'll be getting a better understanding within the review that I'll be presenting. When we first look at the remuneration policy, it addresses remuneration on an organizational-wide basis, and it is one of the key components of the human capital strategy. Both of which it fully supports the overall business strategy. And then the next point speaks about a remuneration is a type of compensation or pay providing services. The term includes a form of a salary, a wage, or a commission. And then the last bullet points, this can also be an incorporated a non-monetary incentive and allowances such as a company car, a medical plan, or accommodation. And now when we jump onto our second slide, This function can be outlined in a policy as they are from the Monumentum Metropolitan Group. The first bullet point speaks about the support the Monumentum Metropolitan Group strategy by helping to build a competitive and a high performing and innovative group with an entrepreneurial culture and motive and rewarding high performing employees. And then the second bullet point speaks about they also promote an ethical culture and they are responsible for the corporate citizenship. And the last one speaks about the promotion of achievement of strategic objectives within the group's risk of appetite. And then when we look at these two remuneration policies, there are several specific forms that are available, but then there are only two major types, of which it's the direct and the indirect remuneration. When we look at the two comparisons between the two, we'll be getting a better understanding of the differences they each have. Firstly, let's start with the direct remuneration. This typically refers to any sort of compensation that comes from a straightforward financial gain for employees, such as a salary, allowances for travel, or bonuses. And then, whereas for the indirect remuneration, it provides a benefit for someone that may be less straightforward. And these include potential pay for overtime, benefits for retirement, and fixed schedules for employees. And then, if I furthermore add on to the, can you go back to the other slide? If I furthermore add on to the direct form, they also include bonuses that employees may receive for impressive performances that they have done throughout their working experience. This is also used as a motivation for employees to perform well when they're doing the task. And then for the indirect remuneration, they do not always provide an obvious monetary incentive for employees, but for example, an overtime pay is a certain direct form, but the opportunity for such payment is indirect and is not necessarily paid out. Now, when we look onto the differences for the remuneration and the salary in this slide, we can see that remuneration is a broader term that covers both the salary and the wages. And this is also compensation. This, oh, sorry, this all the compensation for an employee receives for services rendered, both monetary or non-monetary, such as incentives being given out. Whereas a salary is a fixed amount and it is regularly paid out monthly and agreed upon the employment contract. And then now we're going to be looking at the next slide, of which it focuses on the salary structure literature review. The first bullet point speaks about the salary structures are an important component of an effective compensation programs, as it helps to ensure that the pay levels of group of jobs are competitively externally and equitably internally. A well-designed structure allows management to reward performances and skills development due to controlling the base salary costs by providing a cap on the range of paid for jobs or locations. And then the last bullet point speaks about a salary range is a span between a minimum and a maximum base salary an organization will pay for a specific job or group of jobs. And then now when we look at the next slide, there are three types of salary structures here, of which it's the first one, it's the traditional, the second one, it's the board brand, and then the last one is the market-based structure. Looking at the first one, it explains that this study has proven that the structure is divided into numerous pay grades, and the salary increases are small jumps between a pay grade. And then also employers use this method to prevent employees from capping out their maximum salary too quickly. Now we move on to the second one. These are more flexible than the traditional salary structure. They utilize fewer pay grades and you become more leeway when you're deciding to pay employee salaries. And then now when we're looking at the last bullet point, the market-based structure, these structures are based on what other employees pay employees. You need to conduct an external pay audit in order to determine your salary range for each position. As I conclude in that, I'll be passing over to the next speaker as they'll be getting into a different topic within the assignment provided.
Thank you very much, Avumile. To understand which component of compensation is efficient, we need to go through the theories of compensation. My name is Leona Rutendo Nyamonga, and I'll be presenting on the reinforcement and expectancy theory. The reinforcement expectancy theory is based on the central premise that human behavior is driven by the need to gain rewarding stimuli and eliminate aversive stimuli. The expectancy theory states that employees' motivation is an outcome of how much an individual wants a reward, which is valence. The assessment that the likelihood that the effort will lead to expected performance, which is the expectancy, and the belief that the performance will lead to reward, which is the instrumentality. The reinforcement theory concentrates on three relationships, which are effort-performance relationship. What is the likelihood that the individual's efforts will be recognized in his performance appraisal? Number two, performance-reward relationship. The extent to which the employee believes that getting a good performance appraisal leads to organizational rewards. Number three, rewards personal goals relationship. It is all about the attractiveness on the appeal of the potential reward to the individual. The advantages of these theories are, it is based on the interest individuals who want to achieve maximum satisfaction and who want to minimize dissatisfaction. The theory stresses upon the expectations and perception. This theory, it emphasizes on rewards or payoffs. The limitations of this theory. The expectancy theory seems to be idealistic because quite a few individuals perceive high degree correlation between the performance and rewards. The application of this theory is limited as reward is not directly correlated with performance in many organizations. It is related to other parameters also such as position, effort, responsibility, and education. The implications of this theory. The reinforcement and expectancy theory explains in detail how an individual learns behavior. They should advise the employees on how they can achieve a positive reinforcement. The deserving employees must be rewarded for their exceptional performance levels. In conclusion, I would like to say that this theory is based on the assumption that the reward earning behavior is likely to be repeated. So if an individual gets rewarded for doing something, they are more likely to do it again because they want to be rewarded again. Thank you all. I'll leave this time to the next speaker.
Good day, everyone. My name is Muhammad Almi, and the section I'll be covering is the equity theory. The equity theory was established by John Stacey Adams in 1963. Adams' equity theory is a process model of motivation. It says that the level of reward we receive compared to our own sense of contribution affects our motivation. The theory considers the concept of equality and fairness as well as the importance of comparison to others. Employees seek to maintain equity between inputs that they bring to the job and the outcomes that they receive from it against the perceived inputs and outcomes of others. The structure of equity in a workplace is based on the ratio of inputs and outcomes. The higher an individual's perception of equality, the more motivated they will be. If someone perceives to be in an unfair environment, they will be demotivated. Next slide, please. At its core, Adams' theory says that individuals want a fair relationship between inputs and outputs. What this means is that they want the benefits they receive from work to seem fair in relation to the contributions that they provide. Likewise, they want the rewards that others receive for their work to be similar to the rewards that they themselves would receive for the same level of contribution. Next slide, please. Now we look at the definition of equity in this sense. It means a person feels equitably treated when his or her outcomes and input ratio is equal to the other person outcomes and input ratio. Equitably paid employees are to feel more satisfied with their job. Next slide. There are two types of inequities. Number one, under-rewarded inequities. This is when a person's outcomes and inputs are not equal to those of others and he or she feels underpaid and dissatisfied. Number two, over-rewarded inequities. This is when one's outcomes to inputs exceed that of other person to whom they compare themselves with. This person feels overpaid and they will provide a higher quality of work. Next slide. Now, having mentioned inputs several times, now we will look at what these inputs are. Employees provide capital to the company. They represent human capital, whose knowledge, abilities, and skills provide economic benefits for the company. Employees provide input to the company. This represents what they provide to the company, which could include the following: time, effort, skills, knowledge, experiences, interpersonal skills, as well as loyalty. Then we have the outputs. The outputs represent what employees receive from the company. It can have monetary or non-monetary dimensions. Some are useful for fulfilling their basic needs. Others are important for meeting their psychological needs. Some of these are salaries or wages, bonuses, share ownership programs, achievement recognition, promotions, fringe benefits, challenges, job security. Next slide. And now we move on to the criticisms of the equity theory. As we all know, everything that has positives also comes with its fair share of negatives, and the equity theory is no exception. With that being said, individuals like Leventhal have criticized both the presumptions and actual implications of equity theory, claiming that it is too unidimensional and disregards the methodology and overestimates the importance of concept of fairness in social relationships. The theory's practicality has been challenged by academics who contend that a variety of demographics and psychological factors influence how people perceive fairness and interact with others. Additionally, a lot of research supporting the fundamental ideas of equity theory has been done in laboratory environment, making its relevance um, to actual situations unclear. Further issues or shortcomings of the theory is that individuals or workers may view equality and, and injustices not only in terms of particular inputs and consequences of a relationship, but also in terms of larger system that governs those inputs and outcomes. In a corporate environment, one may feel that their compensation is fair compared to that of other employees, but they may think that the entire compensation structure is unfair. Lastly, many other downsides of the equity theory include the following. It cannot offer suggestions on how to alter a person's input and outcomes. It is it is nearly impossible to achieve equity between input and output because it is dependent on employees' perception. The input cannot change easily. Furthermore, changes in outcome can be clashing. The equity theory is only useful for companies with small number of employees. And that concludes my section, and patients will take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. I will be now sharing our hypothesized desired remuneration policy. May I please have the next page? Our company name will be the H Collection Pty Ltd. It is a private events management company. So, whenever a company designs a remuneration policy, they have a scope. This includes who the policy applies to and who they're going to be compensating. Our remuneration policy scope is applicable to all employees. This includes both permanent staff and employees on a fixed term contract for more than a year. However, it is not applicable to third party employees, unfortunately. Our remuneration philosophy, this focuses on ways we can attract, recruit, and retain key talented employees. These are the main employees, the creme de la creme of our organization. So in our policy, we believe that remunerating employees for their efforts or based on their performance through incentives and rewards guarantees us a high quality performer, profitability organization, as well as loyalty towards the organization. So when we speak of incentives and rewards, we don't just make them up, but we also have a rewards component. What do we mean when we say a rewards component? So when an employee comes into the organization, they just don't want to come in and say, I have reached my limit or I've reached the point where I want to reach. We want to develop an employee. We want them to go higher than they are, maybe end up as a CEO or a COO. So what we do is that we career development. We give you more skills or more knowledge to what you already know in order to apply for future endeavors. These recognition awards, these are for people or our star key talent to say that we see your performance, we see your dedication, and we see your loyalty towards the organization. Therefore, we are recognizing you. And this can be done through Employee of the Month awards or Employee of the Year awards when we have our company event. We have vacation packages just to show employees that we appreciate them. Therefore, you can get a weekend getaway on the company. All you have to do is pack your bags and go. And last but not least, we have sign-on bonuses. This means that when an employee is employed in the organization, we don't want them to leave after 2 months because they think I can find a better organization, an organization that can compensate me more. We want someone to be dedicated from the beginning, to be loyal to our brand from the beginning. So what we do is that when an employee is employed in an organization, and this applies to a star talent, critical and scarce skills holders, when they are signed up with the company, we offer them incentives and bonuses. Maybe this can be medical aid, insurance policies, something to show them that we are also hands-on with our organization, because we treat them like our eggs. We want to be we want them to see that they are special, they are our star talent, and we do need them. And may I get the next slide, please? The last slide, or the last point that I am going to be speaking on, is the guaranteed pay. So the guaranteed pay is a must. It's a religious thing that cannot be avoided in an organization. And the first thing is your basic pay. So the basic pay will be based on our agreement when you came in with the organization, what we had on the contract. If we told you we are going to give you X amount, we cannot go back on their words. That is your basic salary and your guaranteed salary. Then we have benchmarked salaries. So this means that we analyze each job title, each job profile, from a mere consultant to a management position. And once we've analyzed them, we check what is their benchmark, what is their category. And based on this, you be compensated. So each level or each position has a category, or let's say a salary bracket, if I can use that word. So that's how we benchmark salaries. And then we have a subject. You are subject to authorized deductions such as medical aid or UIF funds. This won't be a major deduction on your salary, but maybe part of a amount of your salary that goes towards your medical aid, or that will contribute towards your UIF should you need to apply for UIF one day. And then we have reviewed annually payments. These are done as per our business year. So per year, we want to check if we are able to afford bonuses and incentives for our employees. So what we do is that we review our financial year, we check our profits, how much did we make from our events, and are we able to give you more than we actually planned to give you. And then we have a 13th check. So a 13th check is paid out to our employees either on your birthday month, or we can give it to you in December. So then it would be up to the employee to decide whether they want us to give them the 13th check on their birthday, or they would like to receive it in December. Personally, I'd say December because there's a lot to do in December, and it would be better to have your salary, your bonus, and a 13th check. That's a lot of win, guys. But yes, so I'll leave the rest to my colleague Miss Ginya, who will be continuing with the rest of our remuneration policy.
Thank you very much once again, Patience. So the last four remuneration policy elements that we have implemented at the Edge Collective is one of them is the variable pay. So with the variable pay, we have both the short-term incentives as well as the long-term incentives. At the Edge Collective, with the short-term incentives, we aim to short term, we aim to implement it towards the employees individually as well as the organization, or rather the departments or the divisions within the organization. That is only done or given to the employees on the basis that they have performed very well as according to the set standards of the organization. Another variable pay we have is the long-term incentives. These are only applicable to employees who have been employed within the organization for a long time, or to employees that are in their top level management, such as the executive directors, your CEOs, and so forth. With the variable pay, one of the great remunerations that we have is the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Employee Share Incentive Trust. This is allocated to our employees that are Black shareholders. This is also allocated to employees that are Black employees but have been serving the organization for a very long time. With this variable pay or long-term incentive in place, it shows that we are indeed enforcing the effect of the BBBEE Act. We also have the employee benefits as well as allowances within our remuneration policy. We have medical aid benefits, such as most companies do have. And then we also have a Vision Active membership discount where employees get discounts when they go to the gym. We also have travel allowance, but the most critical one or the most special one that we have at the Edge Collective is the scarce skills and the critical skills allowance, which is only given to an employee that has the scarce skills and the critical skills. And then with the second last element of our remuneration policy, we have the retention strategy. This retention strategy aims at retaining our employees within the organization. We know that there is war for talent, therefore we try our utmost best to ensure that we retain our employees and keep them so that they can work for our company. So at the Ed Collective, our retention strategy is the retention payment. We aim to pay or remunerate or compensate our employees through cash or equity-based payments on the discretionary of the management. Lastly, we link our performance system to our entire remuneration policy elements. This means that all the other elements that we have been speaking about, we're linking them to the performance system. At the Edge Collective, we have two performance systems, which is the 360-degree feedback performance appraisal, as well as the key performance indicators or the key performance areas, KPI or KPA in short. So we link those performance appraisal systems, the performance systems, to our entire remuneration policy and strategy. Without any waste of time, we have been going through a lot of theory and application of the remuneration policy and strategy as our today's topic. I want to ask you guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or post your questions on the chat box. Without any waste of time, I want us, whilst we're waiting for your questions, I want you guys to take a screenshot of these questions that I have for you on the screen. We can take home these questions. You don't necessarily have to answer them right here and right now. With that, I want to conclude on our remuneration policy and strategy and the theory or background that we have presented to you today. With that, performance-related elements should be transparent, stretching, and rigorously applied. Executive directors' remuneration remuneration should be designed to promote the long-term success of the company. And that is a quote from the UK Corporate Governance Code written in September of the year 2014. In essence, remuneration is one of the most important or vital aspects of an organization. Therefore, it is very important that organizations have a remuneration policy strategy in place and ensure that it is effectively implemented within the organization. And that is the responsibility of the executive director within the human resource department. Lastly, benefits and rewards motivate employees to go above and beyond the company requirements. Therefore, we would like to encourage all organizations to have remuneration policies, strategies, and salary structures in place with the use of the remuneration theories that we have given you a background on. With all of these presenters and facilitators that I have given you today, I hope you have taken something. And with that being said, my time is up and I thank you for yours.